we go. We figured it out here. Hold on one second.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, Nick?
What's going on, Nick?
Hey, Nick.
How are you guys doing?
All right.
Doing well, doing well.
Blake's plotting his own death over here.
Already?
Yep.
Haven't even started yet.
Which, no lie, for this was like a month or so ago. My wife handed me a card. I said, "What's this?" She said, "Just open it." I said, "What is it?" She's like, "Just open it." She said, "I'm pregnant." I'm like, "What?"
Oh no.
I'm just kidding. It was a birthday card. I forgot to get the birthday card. That wasn't a funny joke. It took me like an hour just to like get back to my heart beating again.
Oh man. I just dropped the chat in there for you all as well. Right now we got 30 people on.
It's in Zoom.
Good start. Yeah, in the Zoom chat. Yep.
Zoom. There's the chat.
Go ahead and resize this for myself here.
Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't take too long. John Henderson notices Kenny. Or is Ryan in Kenny's basement? Yes, he is.
No, I'm not. It's a green room. I'm in my basement. It's just a green room.
I didn't even notice that. I mean, I kind of liked it where y'all did the both of you together sharing one mic. Could we do that again? They were like,
It sounded bad. There's too much editing involved. Yeah.
She'll hear that, you know.
I know. That's why I said it.
Okay.
tell Lauren I am right up next to my mic this week. I'm going to speak directly into it, and I'm not going to talk over anyone or anything like that.
That's perfect. That'll make her happy. Do that.
And that'll last for about the first 5 minutes of the show.
Actually, you know, it's funny. She actually gave me like a whole checklist of things to like tell you all. And I just forgot everything she told me.
Oh boy.
Isn't that marriage?
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. Oh, y'all having fun? We good?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
What are the questions? They're in the email still? Where'd those go?
The questions for tonight. It's going to be, I wouldn't say softballs, but there's going to be a lot of good discussion. So first off, talking about Instagram removing likes and what's this mean for everybody here that has over 20,000 followers. Like, is the free sample train over? What's that mean for us? But you know, more to like people that are trying to make a living with whiskey on Instagram. Really, what's that mean to them? And then we go into Blake's removal of the Pappy map and how everybody is just disheartened beyond belief. And then we'll go into a lot of things because honestly, the last podcast that we did featuring the counterfeit stuff and all the heat we caught, it brought up a lot of questions and people were all like, well, why don't you talk about this and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we got to make Sazerac, hold them responsible for all this. And so we're going to go into a whole section of where, you know, we had actually reached out to Sazerac and they said, thank you, but no, thank you. We're not going to answer or come on the show. And so then we go into our disclaimer of these are our thoughts only. And what we do best is create conspiracy theories. and so I think that'll take up a good chunk of the podcast. I think that's got a lot of attention on it.
And Brian,
Brian won't be able to comment.
Yeah, Brian, if you hear anything that you think sounds remotely like might not be legally sound to say, feel free to interrupt.
Jump in and
Save
Encourage.
whoever.
Kenny, you got to
Edit that out, right, Kenny?
Give me the mute control, Kenny.
There you go.
Speaking of that, now that just kind of took my mind there a little bit. So if you're gonna like go or leave the computer or go do something, or try to uncork it right here next to the microphone, put yourself on mute. All right.
Was that
That was Jordan though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Jordan last time.
Dang,
Oh, yeah,
John's already calling me out for my Wi-Fi. Everyone's off tonight. We're on we're on high speed tonight.
Sounds good. All right. Nick, you still there too?
Yep.
All right. Good deal.
Sound okay?
Yeah, you sound okay. I think everybody's all right. Unless you all want to get super close to the mic and test it out. I can see what it sounds like.
Hello.
Hello.
BOURBONR.com. Is that good?
Yeah, you sound
Hello,
great.
hello.
Hello.
Trying to get in there, Nick.
Hello.
Yeah, I
How's
guess
that?
it'll be all right. I guess it'll be all right.
What up?
What's Nick got to say, anyways?
Is it too far? Do you want? Should it be
Try
closer?
to try to bring it closer. Try to get like, can you get like 4 inches away from your mouth?
I got this. Well, what happened was the damn cable that comes with the mic
Yeah, and Fred's over
You
there
know.
swallowing his.
fritzed out on me, so I have this short 8-inch cable attached to it, so I don't have much. Can't really move it around too much.
Yeah, Blake, that's when you put yourself on mute.
Yep.
Mute.
Got it. No,
All right.
The flu season down there in Florida.
No, we've just been passing strep throat around in my house. My daughter has
Ooh.
it for the second time
Yeah.
in 4 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah.
Fun.
Sounds good. All right. Well, as soon as Ryan sits back down and puts his headphones on, let's
I
get
forgot the mute
running.
But it's not on recording anyways.
Yeah, did you know we were talking about you?
Probably.
Yeah, all right.
Chances are good.
Yep. All right. This is Bourbon Community Roundtable number 39, I believe is what we're on. Is that what the invite said? Yes, 39.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'll kick it off. We'll do our usual thing. Welcome, everybody. It is the Bourbon Community Roundtable number 39, and this is Bourbon Pursuit, the official podcast of Bourbon. This is one of the most favorite times of the podcast, especially for us, because we get to bring on all our good friends within inside of the community here, the best bloggers around, some of the best lawyers around that know about bourbon as well, and
accountants.
and
Yeah.
accountants. I mean, we got 2 accountants. Yeah, I mean, we got all. We're gonna start creating our own trade business at the end of this. And not only that is, we have people from all around the nation that are joining and watching us live and being able to part of this conversation as well. Right now, we're sitting around 63 concurrent viewers. Hopefully, we'll get to 100 by the end of this. But with that, let's go ahead because we've got a whole lot of information to talk about, and I want to kind of get into this. So, Ryan, Fred, here we are again, man. You guys looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, I think this is a very important discussion to have tonight, and I think it's one we've all wanted to have.
What are we discussing?
That's what happens. That's what happens when you don't do the homework.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super excited to discuss that too. Or maybe. Looking forward to it.
Nice. All right, so let's go ahead and round in our first one. So Blake from Bourboner, how are you, Blaine?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah. Into my introduction.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Let's just do our usual thing.
All right, do the usual. All right, I'm Blake from Bourboner. If you're watching this, you probably already know this is the longest standing tradition of making the roundtables. They like to call me the Ken Ripke,
Ken Griffey Jr.
the Ken Griffey, also Cal Ripken of the Roundtable. But that's you can follow me on all the social medias, BOURBONR.com as well as sealbox.com. Only have URLs where you have to spell it out, and people are like, hold on, what was that again? So Sealbox is SEELBACHS.
And you got a new one, right? Southern Bourboner, right?
Can I have that one? I don't know. Is that
yours?
Dang, breaking
No,
up
I
the
don't think
region.
so. No. Is there a Southern Bourboner out there?
Yeah. Someone's
man.
copying you.
We
Uh-oh.
need to talk,
Better
Blake.
hop on those URLs, Blake.
Uh-oh, yeah. Yeah, Brian, Brian, go ahead and put that cease and desist out.
Yeah, I'll get it together tonight.
Speaking of that, the kind of fakes and stuff that were coming out there. You remember Ted Finnick? Remember those articles?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Whatever
brief.
happened? He had like a solid 2-month run, and then all of a sudden, I don't think he's done anything in like
You
8
go.
months.
Yeah.
It happens every now and then. Someone will come out and try to impersonate me or do some kind of fun satirical deal, and that's great. I love it. But what they don't realize is if you're going to try to impersonate me, you better try to keep up because I go fast and do a
You
lot.
check
They realize like, oh man, this is work now. Like, I could actually keep
months
up
in.
with this. Yeah.
I'll just go back to making fun of him in a Facebook forum, and that's good.
All right, Brian, you're up next, buddy.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me again. This is Brian with Sippin' Corn. You can find me on all the socials at Sippin' Corn, and you can also find me at bourbonjustice.com. Look forward to a good show tonight, guys.
Fantastic. And Nick.
And I'm Nick with breakingbourbon.com. April 1st, breakingvodka.com. That's been known to happen, but only that one day. And you can find us on all the socials at Breaking Bourbon. And thanks again for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. It's always great to have all of you on, especially everybody else that's here in the chat. So let's go ahead and kind of start with our first question. If people in the chat, they have something that they'd like to say with this as well, speak now, because we'd like to be able to put it out there for you. So the first we're going to talk about is the new change that happened with Instagram. Now, this is something that it kind of, maybe it impacts the bourbon world a little bit, but more or less just like the influencer market that's out there. So one of the recent changes that happened was they had removed the ability to see the amount of likes that an individual has on a specific kind of post. And this could be for a few different reasons. There's a lot of things that, you can buy likes out there. That's not unheard of. You can buy followers as well. But one things you really can't buy are, good comments or engagement and stuff like that. So I guess the one thing I'll kind of hand it over to, let's start. Who has the most followers? It's either between Bourbon or Breaking. Who's got the most followers?
Breaking, probably.
Breaking.
Yeah.
I have to check. I think we're just under 70,000.
Yeah. Okay. You
at this
win.
point.
I think I have 70.
Just 70. Just yeah. There's no 1,000 after it. You'll get there.
I mean, and I'll say this. Our it's all 100% organic. We've never gotten into anything where you sign up to get followers in some way.
Prove it.
We pretty much just post what we want to talk about, what we're drinking. We try to keep it light on there as much as possible. Of course, we'll post new content and that kind of thing. But we've really made that clear with anybody who wants to be sponsored in some way that really it's about what we want to do. So sure, if you want to send us a sample of something or a bottle, that's fantastic. We'll maybe review it, maybe do a TNT, maybe it'll show up on Instagram, but really we still, maintain and control that. From the like perspective, we certainly use that as a gauge as to what people want to see, what times of week or times of day, maybe the times when more people are going to see those posts, generally speaking, number of likes, you'll gauge that as kind of the that metric outside of kind of next metric, which is the interaction. So the number of comments on the post, which is, some posts we see a huge volume of comments and others, not really much. I think sometimes when we direct people off to the site, we actually lose comments on the Instagram post itself, and people are getting pulled right off to the site to read the review. But that's the intent. The idea is to kind of share that message, to let people know there's something new up on this site. What I think is interesting about this whole thing is it's being proposed as, and maybe there's some truth and validity to it, that it's to help with people's mental well-being, that kind of thing. But that being said, I think there's a part of me that believes at some point, these companies that want this data on likes are going to be able to buy it on the back end. They're going to be able to see that data, through some kind of payment to Instagram. They're going to be able to figure out, who the best engaging influencers are, if that's what you want to call them. And they're going to use that as a metric, because right now, if you think of these, these companies, if they're looking at, number of followers and they're looking at number of likes, those are really kind of just surface. That just touches the surface of what's going on, as far as the interaction goes. And they really want the interactions. They want people that are interacting with the community and in depth and really, connected with the communities that they're talking to. And those couple of metrics, I'm not really sure, fully show that. So I think what we're going to see is, Instagram really starting to take a bite out of this pie of, these influencers who are making money on this. I think they want their piece. And I think that's what's eventually going to come is, ways for those companies to kind of engage that data.
Nick, that's a fantastic answer, by the way.
Yeah. Really. Well,
Next subject. Here we go.
do you ever gauge your post between you and Jordan, and just to see who has the most likes?
I think Jordan does. He's keeping track. But honestly, not really. We have fun with it. We're
running scoreboard in their living rooms.
we just we do get excited. I will say when there's when there's comments is when we really get excited. I think I posted. Actually, it was the three of us together. We went to a local store and he kind of led us in the back where he's got way too much that's not like generally for sale. But he kind of said, take what you want, what do you want? And, we didn't go overboard, but we each got 3 bottles of stuff you just don't see. And, we kind of arranged them in groups of, well, this is what each of us got, my group, Jordan's group, Eric's group. And we just said, which one would you pick? 1, 2, or 3? And we were amazed by how many comments we got on that, because it's interesting to see, that dynamic of what people gravitated towards, with the bundle or the one particular bottle they felt like was the strongest, that kind of thing. So we get more excited about, I think, interactions than just plain old likes at this point.
Yeah, and a kind of the question for, between you and Blake, when you look at this, the ultimate goal is that none of us are like making money off Instagram, right? None of us are. I guess the question is that what we want to do is we want to figure out how do we convert these people that are looking at our stuff on Instagram to actually listening to a podcast or reading one of your articles. Like, do you see Instagram as a medium to actually make that happen? Or just are people just excited to just be like, oh, cool, Nick has a bottle of Pappy 20, I'll like that?
I mean, for me, I think it's just, it's all a part of the big flywheel. So, there's people who come to just see the Instagram and may see a blog post or something like that. And, so it's kind of connecting it all. But I think Instagram's a good discovery tool. So, somebody may not be just Google searching and find you, but they may see you on Instagram and they're like, oh, they have a blog, they posted a review, now I'll look at that. So I think it's really good for that, just for discovering new blogs, new websites, all that kind of stuff. So it's not as big on the likes. Like I didn't think that was that big of a deal, at least in the whiskey industry. I think Mikey put in the comments about you can still see the inside. So if companies want to see your analytics of how many likes and comments you get per post, they can still see all that. It's more of like that forward facing, just that vanity number of, oh, this post got 1,000 likes. It is crazy. I think they just took away that. And I mean, that's fine to me. I don't think it really affects anything that us do. Cause like Kenny said, no one's really making money off of Instagram. At least, I haven't figured out a way yet. So, it kind of removes that, removes a little bit of the vanity. And so I think it's a pretty good thing overall. It just,
I think this is very important for the consumer. What this does is it kind of deflates a trend that we've seen in whiskey, in that there's been a shit ton of people who bought a bottle of bourbon 5 weeks ago and suddenly they're an expert. And so, Instagram seemed to be a breeding ground for, people coming into the game. And as you all know, I will help anybody trying to get into this business, to create interesting content or ideas or videos, whatever. I am all about furthering the education and the conversation. And even if you are a new bourbon consumer and you're bringing people into that journey, and you're just posting a bottle, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem that has surfaced from these, some of the what we would call influencers, is that they were like overnight experts, and they would pose themselves as that. I mean, and someone like Brian or myself, who's been doing this for more than a decade, you just kind of look at that and you scratch your head. But at the same time, I have seen the impact of what the influencer community can do for events and getting people to show up or even watch something. And I think it's really powerful. There's a guy, Scotch and Time. I thought what he has done has been really remarkable, in that he kind of vetted a lot of influencers that would touch Scotch, whether they were cigars or they were car people, and like with it, with a flick of a finger or a reach out through Instagram, he would have all those people talking about an event, and before you know it, he touches 1 million people, and those are real people. And so I think there's an incredible amount of value to it. But we just have to be careful that we don't get ourselves in a situation where we're not providing real information or a real story that matters to somebody.
I'll add that, and kind of just to back up what Fred says, I think I love Instagram, and I waste countless hours of it. That's why I mostly delete social media during the week, not to waste time on it. But with Instagram, it's like you have shallow, short, and like, you know, what content's gonna grab you at that instant, and it's like everything has to be epic, and it makes it like so like dramatic. And it's sad that we have to like remove likes because people put so much self-worth like in those, that we're trying to fix you know, people's mental health because they don't realize this is a highlight reel of someone's life or their life. Like when Blake's, you know, dropping a brisket and it wobbles and he has to put, you know, juvenile 400 degrees on it. It's not because he's living this epic life. He has kids screaming in the background.
There's kids screaming in the background. Like everybody's going crazy. That's why I have to put music over every single Instagram.
Yeah. So it's, I hope it does, like Fred said, reduce like those celebrities or like, look at me, I'm so epic because I'm with my boys and we got like 10 bottles and we put like 40 filters on it to make it look like the craziest photo ever. But you know, that's just my thought on it. But
I will say that when I got when Instagram verified my account and I got that little blue check mark, I mean, there are a few things that I have celebrated more than that. That was like in a weird way, it was like, you know, it was like
let me interrupt. Few things you've celebrated more than that?
Well, in terms of like social media, I was about to go down that road. Like I hate social media, but when I first started like trying to you know, sell books to publishers, they were like, you need Instagram followers, you need Twitter followers, you need this, and now it's fucking YouTube. So, you know, you have to have all of these things to be encompassing. And so that's why, you know, I've worked on that, is because it's what the people who, you know, put on events and, you know, buy books at the publishing level or films or whatever, that's what they want. And they just basically in a Bourbon and Beyond, you know, we assess bands based on, you know, like a new up and coming band. We can assess a band based on the metrics from YouTube or Instagram. That's real life data. And so so when I got that like blue check mark, because I know how important that is for like event planners, and that's basically how I make a good chunk of my living, is doing events around the world. And when I got that blue check mark, I was like, I've made it. I've made it.
I've had no idea. That's crazy. I mean, I was late to the game, didn't get on till my daughter got me on, and it's eye-opening to
actually just put a green check after my name. I think it's something similar to that, similar to the blue check. I think it will
the green check emoji.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's pretty close. I think it'll pass in some places. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that was a really good kind of like way to touch on it a little bit. And I guess last thing that we'll kind of look in here is, you know, as if you're a company and you're still looking for that engagement and that influencer following, I mean, is this going to be a deterrent for you, not being able to see that? Or is it going to be like, okay, now we have to get more data out of this person, try to figure out if they're actually a true influencer or not?
I think it's going to cause the companies to dig deeper.
Well, aren't there sites that give you those analytics? I mean, there's sites that like, you know,
run it down
follower
by user,
by
account. And I think Instagram's going to use that data. You know, I think they're going to collect more data. I would think that they at some point are going to try to be in between. Because if you think right now, if there's transactions happening between companies and between influencers, and it's happening outside of Instagram, but then the post and the activity, the thing that they want is happening inside of Instagram. I got to believe that if I'm Instagram, why wouldn't I want a portion of that? Why wouldn't I want to be the one to connect those two entities? And if anything, we may see a lot more of that, because right now it's really pretty ad hoc, you know, especially if you're not somebody that's, you know, a huge Instagram personality that's got it figured out, you know, or a big company that's got it figured out. You know, you've got smaller companies seeing it, seeing likes, seeing followers, thinking, okay, there's a big audience here. Maybe they don't understand it, but they might want to throw some money. They may not know how to connect with, call it the influencer. So I think we may see a lot more connectivity there between these two parties, with Instagram actually in the middle taking a portion of it, which to me that's even a little bit more scary, because as of right now you got to be cautious about what you're seeing and reading, because what's really behind it, and there's certainly some markets out there where just about all the information that's out there is got somebody's money behind it, and it's very difficult to find real information that somebody has put together on their own without the influence from somebody's money.
Okay, last question as we kind of tail off on this. Should Instagram also hide the amount of followers that you have? Anybody can take that one.
I mean,
I
for
think
mental health, they should, because
I think that would start to deter even more from people reaching out to, influencers and all that kind of stuff. So I think that would hurt their, they can kind of get away with hiding the likes and, it gets a nice PR push. But if they started hiding followers and all of that, I mean, the whole mental health thing I get, but it's like if somebody is drawing value in their own life because of how many Instagram followers they have, Instagram's not going to be able to solve that problem in their life.
Yeah.
It's going to take something more. And, it's a sad thing to say, but it is true. Like if that's where you're deriving value from with your life, like you need to take a step back in general. And that's just a small byproduct of, I'm sure, some deep-seated issues. So kind of on a serious note to bring it back. No, like what's the point? I mean, we're all on there to build a bigger following and reach a bigger audience. So take it for what it is. It's a tool to talk to more people about whiskey. It's not something that you should be waking up in the middle of the night thinking, why don't I have 100,000 followers? Or
every time my posts don't get as much likes as Kenny's, I'm like in a deep
you're in a funk
several
for a
days.
week.
It's tough.
Who cares what they do? I mean, every day they're all changing their algorithms, and one day it's all going to go away or be changed and highly regulated. Just it's not worth worrying about or even thinking about. It's all stupid.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of stupid, let's go ahead and move on to another stupid topic. Does that sound fun?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Cool. So last week, Blake broke a lot of hearts out there across the nation as he got rid of, he always has the BTAC map, but he said this year and never again will there ever be another Pappy release map. And so that kind of led into a good blog post that kind of talked about really the problems that he sees with it. Even if you do find a bottle of Pappy, odds are you're not going to be paying retail, because I think he said there is about maybe a 2 to 5% chance that that's all the retailers that are left across the nation that are actually selling theirs at suggested resale price. And so this kind of leads into the sort of the next question. And it also kind of tails off on a lot of things that we had discussed, or kind of took the brunt end of it a few weeks ago when we had a counterfeiter on the podcast, and people were talking about, okay, well, you need to go talk to Sazerac. You need to put them online. They should be responsible for this. Like, they need to answer the questions of the people. And, we did. We reached out to Sazerac and PR, and we asked for somebody to come on the show to try and provide some transparency. And we knew this was going to be a sensitive subject, and we were willing to give all the questions up front just in case they wanted to prepare their answers. However, Sazerac, they respectfully declined our offer, and they do not wish to answer any of our questions. So we're going to do what we do best and make all sorts of frivolous claims and conspiracy theories.
Speculations.
Yes. So anything you hear from this point forward.
I need that mute button right now.
Yeah. Go ahead and throw that Brian's way. Yeah.
So anything that you hear from here on out is our own opinions, nothing that is factual or true or anything. This is just something that we're all just kind of talking about as just kind of friends and kind of just putting our ideas out there. So the first thing we kind of look at here is, of course, we all know that the Van Winkles were kind of the face of the secondary market takedown. We talked about it. We recorded it at Bourbon and Beyond. We put it out there. The whole world got to hear it. However, I kind of want to put it out there for you all. Do you all believe that there are bigger wheels in motion behind this, and it's actually Sazerac as a whole, and it's really the Van Winkles just kind of had to be the puppet in this?
We're not going to fall on the sword with you, Kenny. You're on your own.
But I mean, I think when you look at it, it's kind of like the perfect storm. So the Van Winkles have the face where everyone knows Pappy and everybody wants to get Pappy. And that's, I'll step out and say that's a majority of what was being sold and traded and everything on the secondary market. It helps when you have a $1 billion company that also hates the secondary behind you. And that's where Sazerac came in. So, where I think Preston said where he fell, which was, he hated the secondary market and all this stuff. But where Julian and everyone else falls, I don't know. But, to me, and I just think it's really misguided is the best way. I don't want to say it's dumb or stupid because I think they have their reasons. But I think they miss out on, they're actually targeting their biggest, cheerleaders and their biggest promoters by going after the secondary market. And, to go after the secondary market and not just put some, anti-counterfeiting measures on their bottle. I think that's the biggest thing. And I have my prop is in the background of how much I feel like they actually do care about the consumer. And you look at the 2017 Pappy 15 year, they put the wrong foil cap. They put the red cap on the bottle instead of the black cap and just let it go out to market. I mean, I can't think of any other product where they put the wrong cap on and just be like, who cares? Send it. Like,
No one will notice.
No big deal. And that's, to me, that was like a bigger slap in the face than actually going after the secondary. The fact that, these things are how crazy people go. And it wasn't like there was a press announcement before. It was just like they started popping up and people were like, hey, the 15 years got a red cap on it this year. Like, oh, bottling mistake. It's good. So
it took us 20,000 bottles before we realized that we're like, screw it, let it go.
Like, I just, we send one sticker out wrong and you're going to get a reply automatically. You send it out, hey, sorry, you sent the wrong sticker, whatever. So that to me was just kind of like, what are we really going after here? And, I kind of set things up for ultimately Sazerac's defense of the 3-tier system, which they are strongly embedded in. They believe in the 3-tier system. They think the 3-tier system should be there no matter what. And they see the secondary market as, a deterrent to the 3-tier system or, impeding the 3-tier system. And ultimately, it's not about taking down the secondary. It's about making sure that that 3-tier system is in place and ongoing forever.
All right, Blake, you're jumping ahead in some questions here. You're jumping ahead a little bit.
I rest my
So I kind of
they were even against like the Vintage Spirits Act that passed in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, like that's what the secondary market was to go and enjoy looking at those beautiful old bottles that would occasionally pop up from the 50s and 60s. I gave 2 shits about Pappy, and but that's what led the conversation, and it really it comes down to every single year for that company. They have the hottest bourbons that everybody wants in every major city in the country and the small ones in every country in the world. How do they get there? How do they get it there? And then in between these things that happen, there's theft within their own company. There's small little counterfeiters here and there. You got ridiculous hype, driving around it, like from the fortune story about billionaires can't even get a bottle to, hell, us talking about it. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, my whole Pappy versus the field thing on YouTube was an experiment for me just to have some fun with it. But it was like, I'm part of the problem.
So I guess, before we kind of jump into some other questions here, does anybody else kind of think that, was it really like, why make the Van Winkles the face of this? Like, does anybody else have a kind of theory behind that?
Well, I mean, do you think that Sazerac is making the Van Winkles the face, or do you think the Van Winkles are recognizing that of their own volition and driving it as well themselves.
This is all theory, man. So if you think that, they had the wheels in motion behind this and they're just like, hey, Preston, we're going to go ahead and let you be the punching bag this today. Like, what do you really think that was it? Or you really think that maybe the Van Winkles actually do legitimately care about the secondary market?
I think they were the face no matter what. I mean, if Four Roses came out and tried to do the same thing, it's like, well, the small batch limited edition gets flipped a little bit, but and nobody's going to step up from a bottle from 1950, some old Stitzel Weller. So nobody's going to step up and like try to shut it down on their behalf. So I think they were just kind of already the face. But
I don't think anyone else really, I guess, could be the face in a sense of, if you think about, it is a very family business in a way. If you look at Sazerac and that company, that teaming up with the Van Winkles, that partnership was a fantastic move, for their product line. Whatever caused Van Winkle and Pappy Van Winkle, all the things that, you look at the dominoes that fell years ago that just caused the popularity to skyrocket. There's no question that that's overflowed into, a lot of Sazerac's products. And now we've got this kind of like beast that's feeding itself in a way, because we've got us as bourbon enthusiasts, as drinkers who talk about this stuff all the time, who buy the stuff and want the stuff. I mean, I look in my collection here, and I've definitely got like a high percentage of Sazerac type products that I've kind of like stocked up on, just based on that. Geez, I don't think I'm going to see it again for a while. I better buy a few of them, as opposed to, I see it all the time, I'll just get one. What do I need 3, 4, And so then we've got the distributors using it to hold over the retailers as a product to buy more products. And it's not just Sazerac products, but it's stuff they want to move as well, because they're in it to make money, so and then you've got the retailers who don't put this stuff on the shelves. So no matter how much they're making, it appears to be a ghost, whatever it might be, even though there might be a lot of it, because if a retailer is holding it back and taking you by the shoulder and saying, by the arm, and saying, hey, I got something in special. You're a good guy. I like you. You want it. You're suddenly saying, I am special. I do want that. Absolutely. And then it's not even a question about it, so you got everybody really believing that all these products are insanely hard to get. That's causing people to hoard them, stockpile them, and buy more of them. And then that's what's causing the price to go up. So the secondary, in a way, has kind of helped their cause in a sense. At the same time, it's they're a company. You got to look at, say, what are you doing to stop counterfeit bottles, to stop these things from going on, to prevent illegal activity. So how much of it is them really wanting to stop it versus just, okay, I suppose we really should apply and make it look like we're doing something over here.
Nick, I think it's more than just that it helped them. I mean, it's the horse they rode. It's the reason that those brands are as popular as they are today. And now they're, at least facially, turned their back on that secondary market. But that's what made them. And maybe once you make it that big, you can turn your back on it, and you can try to take this holier than thou attitude toward it. But it got them there, and I mean, maybe it'll push them back down if they push back against it too hard.
Corky Taylor from Peerless, when I asked him about this, at Bourbon and Beyond, he said that he's like, it's a mistake that this whole thing was like punishing the hardcore consumers that really has brought, bourbon to where it's at right now. But I'm telling you all, the Van Winkles in the 90s, every single day they were near closure. That's a company where everybody wants to hate on them, but they had a long road to get here. And, and they get probably far more hate mail than all of us combined on a yearly basis, because people can't get bottles and they get all these stories that are connected to them. And so I think a lot of what we caught on that stage in September was frustration. And I don't think I don't think Sazerac put the Van Winkles up to this. I think they wanted to do it. And I think Preston on that stage that day wanted to get it off his chest. And They're angry about it. They're angry about the fact that someone can sell a bottle that's who is not a licensed retailer. They're also angry about the people who are jacking up prices in liquor stores. And here's the thing: is they say they can't do anything about that. That's true. So the liquor stores who are price gouging, are protected by federal laws that prevent alcohol companies from dictating pricing. So like Mac and and Bose, they like fix their prices, and retailers can't do, they can't jack their prices up. Alcohol cannot do that. And that all goes back to the 40s and 50s. And ironically, the Pappy Van Winkle testified in Congress talking about all the price fixing that was going on in the industry. So they're in a hard spot. And it's a no-win. It's a no-win. If they jack up their prices to kind of like, meet the demand, they're in trouble. They get yelled at, and if they don't do anything, they get yelled at. But what it came down to is they made a business decision, and I don't think they made the best business decision, but that they made what they thought was best for their company.
So I'll go ahead.
And I think they
go ahead.
Go ahead, Kenny.
All right.
I was going to say, Fred, to piggyback on that, I think that they do internalize what they went through. And I think there's got to be a part of them that says, if we raise our prices today, this, we've kind of gotten lucky in a way. I mean, if I were them, I would certainly feel like, man, we really got lucky over the years with how popular our product has become. What if we push it too hard and we lose what we've gained and we're back to where we were? You know, so I got to believe if you're them, that's got to be going on. I mean, it's a human thing to feel. I would think if any of us in that position would probably be, thinking the same thing. Sorry, Kenny.
No, you're good. And this is all kind of coming back around because, Christopher Hart and a few other people with inside the chat, they were saying like, oh, it's all the Van Winkles. It's not Sazerac. And I'm kind of saying I'm kind of the opposite. And I'll kind of give you my theory on this because, when I look at this, I look at, the Van Winkles as the face of this, and they come out saying that the main argument is behind counterfeiting. And that's a pretty weak excuse. Like, actually, it's a shitty excuse, in my opinion, because they're not doing anything to prevent it. They're not doing anything to invest in it, to make anything happen. I mean, Blake made a pretty good example about that. Even quality control at Sazerac was poor enough to even see that happen. And what was the real point of just going after the secondary market? So if I think about this and I think a few steps back and I think a little bit higher up the ladder, I'm like, okay, well, I want to put these people to face of because they're the most popular brand out there and it's something that people are going to recognize. And if it's coming from them, all these bourbon nerds go crazy. They're going to talk about it. And people are talking already on here that's saying, we're doing it. Like we're giving them the more press that they're already going to get. Right. So we're giving them free marketing. And this is another theory that I kind of heard from somebody else as well, is that Sazerac's expanding. I mean, they've got more warehouses coming out. They've got more distilleries coming online. And the goal behind this is to not have so much focus being on just a few select brands. Instead, what they want to be able to do is they want to be able to try to spread the pie even further and get these bottles in the hands of more people, not the allocated products, but the stuff that's coming online. And you got to be able to get it in such a way that people aren't just talking about the same 5 bottles all the time. Now, I also kind of look at this in another way is that this is a very bad thing for bourbon because, Fred talked about it a little bit earlier. And I think we've all had that same feeling that when we're able to sit there and we're able to scroll and we're able to see these cool bottles from the 50s and old Weller antiques from the 70s and like all these old Willet wax tops and people are just going, they're going crazy for it. And they just want to rip it away. For why? For counterfeiting? Like that's bullshit. Like it's bullshit, right? There's got to be something that's a little bit higher here to make this a real claim and a real excuse, and it can't be counterfeiting. So I'm just saying that there's some dots in my head that aren't connecting to make it say that counterfeits are really the real angle here.
Yeah,
I
when
don't
they
know that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
when the attorney generals for the country, all the states basically issued a joint letter saying that they were going to be cracking down on
That's not a Van
Like
Winkle.
secondary market. That's not the Van Winkles, guys.
I'm sure Julian has some connections, but to get 47 out of the 50 attorney generals.
And let me tell you, they're all playing on that the Dominican Republic minibar stuff, and the wholesaler world. Boy, they seized that opportunity better than anything since Prohibition. I mean, my God, they're like, oh, see, look what happens here when we allow shipping. You could die. You could die from alcohol poisoning, and vultures will be eating your guts on the beach. It's just ridiculous how far they took that.
Yep. We need to bring back shipping.
Yep.
Go on, Ryan. You had something to say.
No, I was just I don't think Sazerac really gives a shit. Honestly, I think they're just we as whiskey geeks, we think they care. These whiskey brands care about what we think and like what these really high end bottles matter. The reality is those things are like 5% of their business. It's like low on the total bone. It's more of a pain they ask for them. They're thinking more grander, bigger scheme thing. I just don't think that counterfeiting or the Van Winkle. I mean, yes, they want it, but I just don't think they would put all these resources into that when they're just their eyes on how much Fireball, how much Buffalo Trace can we push out there and do it globally. Not that's what they're focused on, I think.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's a reaction. I gotta agree with that too, Ryan. And the Van Winkles, it may be more internal. They're invested in it. But
yeah, I think the Van Winkles, it's like Fred said, they've got so much sweat equity and all this, and it's their family history, and they're just, for lack of a better term, butthurt about it. That people can flip it on the market for 10x what they, because a $300 bottle, they're probably making, 90 to $100 on it, and then it's selling for $15,000, $18,000, $2,000. I mean, that's probably more of it for me, but
okay, so here's the thing, like they can control that. Why don't they do it?
Well, they could, I guess, but
sure, they can just. Why don't they sell it for $2,000 at the distillery or to?
But then they get the same amount of hate from the other side saying, "Well, you sold out."
They saw what Bookers did when they raised it $20. They're like, "Hell, fuck that."
I kind of get it from
deal with
their
this
perspective.
nonsense.
Yeah, their perspective. I can't imagine the amount. As Fred said, they probably get the amount of hate mail all of us combined on a daily basis. It's probably pretty frustrating to get they think they're doing the right thing by just keeping the prices lower. And I'm sure every random, guys email them saying, I used to buy your bottles for $50 a bottle and loved it. Now I can't get it. And you gotta, I'm sure it's millennial thrown in there somewhere who's ruining it, or a guy in skinny jeans and a flannel shirt's probably the reason why they can't buy Pappy anymore. But they're probably frustrated with that. I would be too. I don't blame them, but I just think they're taking the wrong approach.
Doesn't keeping that bottle at $90 encourage secondary flipping?
But
indirectly,
so if they increase it, so say they came out next year and Pappy 15 was just $500.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they'd get even more hate because of that. I think, but I could be wrong. I mean, ultimately, I think it, like Ryan said, this is not a big, I think all these limited releases is something they want to get behind them. Jordan and I toured Heaven Hill, and it was crazy the amount of spirits that were flowing through there. And bourbon was, we saw way more watermelon vodka and flavored rums and all this stuff that we had never seen. Just, hundreds of thousands of cases moving through there. Elijah Craig 23-year was not even on the radar of what was important and what was, kind of moving the profit and loss statement. So I think it is kind of that necessary evil. They want to have it. They want that, the history and the heritage and everything else. But at the end of the day, that's not what makes these places profitable. So
let's
I don't even know if raising prices really, will it raise prices and it still, flips for double instantly.
But will it has a little bit, because will it that affects the bottom line a little bit more, if you double the price of something that is affecting your bottom line by like 0.005%,
it's only 1 to 2% of their total business. Like that, they cut almost all their gift shop sales of it because it became such a pain in the ass. They were getting ABC letters from people saying like, or not from people, but from the ABC, that people were turning them in, saying like, well, they're just selling to certain people. And, then they're like, well, the hell with it. We're not even going to deal with it anymore. Cause we just do this for the whiskey enthusiasts. It's turned into a more headache than it needs to be.
So I want to bring something up that Kenny said at the very top. And that's like, I want everyone to know like how hard we work to get a representative from Sazerac to come on and talk about this. And we thought we had someone across the finish line, but we did not say, hey, come on this show. We respected that person's position and his future with that respective company. And I just want to tell you that anytime, and we've all given we've slung a lot of things Heaven Hill's way. And anytime I have ever written anything negative about Heaven Hill, they reach out to me and they explain. Anytime I've ever written anything about Jim Beam, they reach out to me and explain. And sometimes they won't talk to me for 6 months, but they will still have a conversation with me. What we are looking at here, we are looking at a very closed-in organization that is making arguably the best whiskey.
No, I'm kidding.
Arguably, it's the best whiskey that's out there, and hungry consumers who want to know more. And if anyone from Sazerac's listening, I'm just telling you that the playing the game of like not talking about this is only hurting you. Is only hurting you. And you got to come on. You got to talk about this because people are fascinated about it from a business perspective as well. I mean, in addition to Kenny's like right vein popping up over here when he's got a blood draw tomorrow, I'm getting concerned about him. People are absolutely fascinated with the business of bourbon. So let's talk about one of the most key issues in our industry, and that is allocation. How do you decide to do allocation? I would love to have that conversation.
And so there's one other thing I kind of want to also bring up as we were talking about raising prices, and this just kind of like just jogged my memory a little bit. When Blake came out with his article, saying that maybe there's like 5% of retailers nationwide that are actually still selling at SRP. And let's be generous. We'll give it the 80-20 rule. We'll say 20% of retailers nationwide are still selling at SRP, even if they've jacked
how many
up.
are state run? You've got state run to start with, right?
Okay. Still
so
20%.
That's all them. And then you've got the other ones with a lot of big retailers are doing lotteries across the board.
Exactly. Okay. So maybe 20%. I mean, is that a fair number? Maybe 20%?
Say 20. It's going on. It's just, it's hard. There's still 100 people, 200 people lined up for each bottle, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Let us speculate.
Sorry.
Yeah. We'll get our spreadsheets out after this.
I got my accounting mind is suddenly like turning the numbers here, Kenny. You turn it on. It's too late for this.
But anyway, like even if they said, okay, well, guess what? The new SRP for Pappy 15 is $500. There's still 80% of the country that's still going to charge more than $500. That's fine, right? And the 20% that's there, yeah, sure, they'll bitch, but whatever. Like I think most people get over it. And not only that is most people, if they have the offer to buy a $500 bottle, most people are going to do it anyway because that's the only time they're ever going to get their hands on it. So I don't really see a whole lot of blowback, even if they were to raise the price in the back end. However, I've always been one to always say, kudos to Sazerac and the entire portfolio of actually kind of sticking to their guns and really not raising prices across the board on any allocated bourbon. So it's one thing that is cool to be the bourbon consumer and just say like, hey, it's always a good deal if you can find it at retail, right? If I could find the Elmer Tea Lee for $45, cool, great deal. If it's $150, maybe it's a pass. So that's just one of the things that, over the years, I'm just really surprised that we've stuck with it. And kind of like the last question I want to throw as regards to this, do you all think other distilleries are happy with Sazerac's actions here or Van Winkle's actions, whoever it is, to actually take down this singular, or should I say the big secondary market groups?
I think that's an even more interesting question, because so far nobody has jumped on board to publicly say, yeah, we're with them. We should, be doing something to combat that. And maybe it is because, if we look at it, Sazerac are the leading products in the majority of that. It's Dusty bottles and it's Sazerac products. But I do think it's interesting that nobody has really kind of jump in to fight the battle with them. And whether that's because they disagree or whether that's because they want to see how the consumer is going to react, I don't know. But the longer other distilleries stay out of that fight, I think it's better for the consumer.
Well, I think here in the United States, I think the market is just very, very small, relatively speaking. Maybe there's counterfeiting going on in other countries where it's more of a massive problem that we're just not in tune with, that we don't know. You see videos pop up on YouTube of these like mass production type situations where people are bottling, something in a counterfeit nature that it definitely appears to be in a different country, where it's going to be, sold in some black market. But here in the United States, I think it's really resolved mostly to the enthusiast crowd, to the crowd that's trying to stock bars and restaurants and high-end places like that. As a percentage of sales, it's got to be really small. What I would really like to see, and I know producers, distilleries listen to this, I would like to see a movement from producers and distilleries, from somewhere to kind of create this market. How do we, people are going to buy and sell. This stuff is going to change hands. It's going to happen. The market is going to find a way because somebody has it, somebody else wants it, plain and simple. That's just how it's going to work. Right. So if it's not this thing, it's going to be the next thing. So I would like to see a movement to get behind that, in a way that doesn't encroach on the new production, the new business, the stuff that does go through the 3-tier system the normal way. There's plenty that doesn't. There's plenty of stuff like Fred mentioned, the older stuff, the stuff people find in their grandparents' basements that somebody else wants, that is of no value to the person who found it, but of tremendous value to maybe somebody else, and in some cases maybe a lot of other people, as we've seen with these charity auctions and things of that nature, where these bottles can raise a tremendous amount of money. There's certainly a market for it, and I really believe the producers, especially the big producers, should get behind that kind of, if they're behind the culture, if they're touting the history and those kinds of things, put your money where your mouth is and make it so that we can have that market that everybody wants and is going to have anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is there was a secondary market called the classified ads forever. And through my research, I found so many bottles for sale in like small newspapers, and people would just, go and buy them. But I'll say this, like Christopher Hart brought this up. Ryan and I were on his show. I think it airs this week as well. But I brought up the fact that I do think that he brought up the fact is like the secondary market will always survive in these forums in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And I do not believe that. I am seeing an uptick of federal authorities getting involved with this. I mean, this is a very serious issue. The same people who were involved in taking down big tobacco in the 1990s, you're starting to see them focus on alcohol, while at the same time you have an incredible large movement within the health community to try and ban advertising. So all this alcohol stuff falls under kind of like two battles. One, you have one side trying to block illegal sales, and you have another side, for whatever reason, they're trying to block illegal sales. On the other side, you have people who are trying to ban alcohol on social media. So you've got, right now it's coming at two fronts. And in some ways, that's why it's kind of Mark Brown's head has always been he's always been very conservative about this. And so if you were to put yourself in his shoes of like, you're trying to protect protect your company in the best way you think is possible, you may pursue something like this to prevent it. But the fact is what no one ever seems to grasp is that us, the bourbon fan, the consumer, I just feel like all of these, if anything is going to change, it has to come from us. There was a few years ago, New York tried to ban fantasy gaming. Within 5 hours, every senator in New York heard from people in their area that had never even considered politics, and they changed it just like that. Now we can all play fantasy football and make money off of it. So if we are going to save any semblance of what the secondary market is or what it meant to us, it's got to come from us, and we have to start like pushing it. We have to write our congressmen and our state senators and say, like, this is an issue that's important to us. And believe it or not, if Wade Woodard and people like that multiply, I mean, who can handle 20 letters from Wade Woodard a day?
And Fred, I go bigger than that. I mean, the 3-tier system is antiquated. It's rooted in Prohibition era sentiments and law. I mean, the whole system's got to go. And if part of that is a even more robust vintage spirits law than we already have, that really resembles what the secondary market looks like, so be it. It'll be a safer market. If folks like Sazerac and the other producers take anti-counterfeiting measures, it'll be a safer market. We've got to go to more, I'm always an open market guy, but here I really am, partly out of self-interest, but that's where we've got to go. We've got to go to less regulation and more openness on it.
Yeah. And let's stage a DC protest. Hey, 3 tiers got to go. I don't know, however that goes.
Get the pick.
Go to DC and drink bourbon.
Yeah.
Next to the 30 other picketers.
Actually, what would happen is everybody would just end up at Jack Rose and no one would go do anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
I like that idea.
We'd meet some members of Congress while we were there, though.
Yeah.
A guy with a retail license in DC, so we could maybe set something up, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that guy.
Brian, you get the RV. Let's go. Gas it up.
Nice.
All right, so let's go ahead. We'll kind of wrap this up on a little bit higher note because this is the Thanksgiving episode. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you're if you're driving, you're maybe you're just trying to fall asleep to some tryptophan, lifting us or something like that. But let's go ahead and kind of go around a little bit and kind of talk about what we're thankful for in bourbon in 2019. If there's something that was awesome that happened to you, whether it was growing or do anything like that, or just landing a cool bottle. Let's hear it.
Like in height?
Sure, why not?
In width.
If anybody wants to go first, if not, I'll go first and let you all pick.
I'll jump in. So first, I'm going to plug an article that's coming this week. No, so Bourbon are always do an article about just Thanksgiving. Open up the good bottles. Like, who cares if it has a secondary market? I think that's even more prevalent now that the secondary market is kind of fading or unstable. So what I always try to do is open up good bottles with family members, friends, that kind of stuff. I will be opening up a Pappy 15 year. That'll be a part of it. I think that just kind of celebrate. No, I think Thanksgiving's great. It's a time to kind of reflect a little bit. And so all in all, this has been a good year for bourbon. I think there's a whole lot more great available products on the market. We're starting to hit a little bit of that, people have been scaling up for, 6-7 years now. So we're seeing more and more great products come on the market, and yeah, it's a good thing.
Absolutely. All right. Well, here, I'll go real quick. So, at least for us in the podcast, I'm thankful for the success that we've had this year. It's been fantastic. We've had a lot of great episodes, and not only that, as I also, selfishly have to give a shout out to our Patreon community, because we are now 11 months into the year, being able to take my wife away from her old job and have her work on the podcast full time.
So they can fight more. Holy cow. That's all it is, fight. No, I'm kidding.
It's civil. It's very civil. But no, it really has been. It's been a blessing, again, for myself and the family and everything like that. So that's ultimately what I'm thankful for in regard to this podcast, in regards to bourbon for this year, just really what it's brought me.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo that. We took some shit when on the Roundtable when we did the shutdown of the secondary market, and everyone doubted it because there was only one email at the time or whatever the hell it is. you guys took some grief a couple weeks ago for the episode of the Counterfeiter, but you guys bring so much good to the bourbon world, and I appreciate that. And that goes for Bourboner and Breaking too. I mean, you guys, I'm sitting here with the three groups that are really leading the charge. So I'm thankful for that. The other thing I'm thankful for is still the generosity of the bourbon community, whether it's sharing a rare bottle or sending samples or those sorts of things, or doing a big event like Ryan and Fred are aware of and were with me a couple weeks ago, and you get $375,000 in donations for bottles of bourbon and for barrels. And I was just at another charitable event this past weekend for a children's hospital, where you would think that there would be, where there's doctor money in the crowd and great auction items. They had a house, they had a BMW, all these sorts of things. And it was $218,000. So the generosity of the bourbon community is something that has always struck me, and that I'm thankful for and thankful to be a part of.
You know,
I like it.
you know, and thank you for that comment too, Brian. You know, I'll kind of rewind a little bit. You know, so Jordan, Eric, and I, we met in the second grade. Jordan lived down the street from me. Eric went to the same school. You know, we were friends since then. But then college, all went to different places. You know, after college, all lived in different places. Incidentally, Jordan lived in Louisville, Kentucky for a little while. And when he was there, we'd visit, we'd go drink bourbon. We'd go to distilleries, that kind of thing. Well, it didn't really quite click. He left there, moved somewhere else. Well, you know, so we really honestly weren't talking that often. We might talk once every couple months, see each other once or twice a year, if that. At one point, we got together and we each had like 10 bottles of bourbon. We were talking about it a little bit. We each went and bought way too much and brought it all. And we had this gigantic tasting years ago. And that's what kind of kicked off the idea for doing the website and kind of going from there. And that got us to the point where now, you know, we're on a chat together, but pretty much talking every day on the chat, and then probably talking on the phone, you know, once or twice a week, you know, and then that's transitioned to, you know, meeting you guys, you know, in January 2018, you know, we all get together and select a barrel, you know, and now here we are, you know, go to Kentucky, get together, you know, do this chat, you know, so it's just, it's really, you know, I feel like bourbon has brought me together with a lot of people in my life. That's been the, you know, kind of an unintended consequence, but really, honestly, if it wasn't for that, I don't think I'd have the interest in bourbon that I do have. I don't think we'd still be writing about it if we didn't have that support, if we didn't have that kind of community engagement that's around it. And then that echoes to all the people that are readers, subscribers. Honestly, even if you just comment on an Instagram post, it doesn't matter. It's just that, like, that communication, that interaction with people that it seems to inspire is really what I think supports us for what we do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, whatever. And I think that idea of bourbon bringing everybody together is really what makes it keep going and what makes me keep being excited about it.
Nick, you're on fire tonight. You've like nailed
Yeah,
the topic.
No,
Yeah,
man,
it is a little warm in here.
I got chills there.
That's how I feel. I mean, really, truly. I mean, that is how I feel. I mean, it's just great that, you know, we connect on this level, and it's just great that the ball kind of keeps rolling and just it keeps getting bigger, and people keep getting excited about it. You know, it's like you don't want that to go away. You know, you don't want it to be a plateau that drops off. You want it to really keep going, you know, and growing.
So I started writing about bourbon, you know, in 2006, and I was definitely a consumer prior to that. And, you know, I tell this story a lot, but I was writing about wine at the same time. And I really had made it as a wine writer. Like, I had broke some things, and I was writing for Spectator and Wine Enthusiast. I had made it, and bourbon was still kind of like 2008 to 2012. If you're a writer, you couldn't really do much with it. There were a couple blogs, but there was not really a way I could support my family writing about it. So, like, I was writing about like technology, and wine was really kind of taking off. And in 2012, I was a finalist for the International Wine Writer of the Year, the Louis Roeder Awards, for like the under 35 category. And I'm in this room in London with like Robert Parker and Jancis Robinson, all these legendary wine critics and winemakers. And I look around this room, and all I thought to myself was, I just want to be with Jimmy Russell. I want to be with Fred Noe and Parker Beam and Lincoln Henderson. And I want to talk about bourbon. It was that moment in that room that I decided I wanted to leave wine and focus on bourbon. And so I kind of just put all my cards into bourbon in 2012. And it's been one of the greatest decisions I ever made. But I could not do it without the support of my family. I mean, what I do is I travel a lot. My wife is absolutely amazing, even though she steals most of my good bourbon when I'm out of town. True story. She's always making whiskey sours with like something that I spent a lot of money on, to include rare vintage bottles. So I got to figure out how to hide those better. But if it wasn't for her, I mean, I would have given up a long time ago. And if you've ever read one of my books or a blog post or liked anything, I love you, man. I really appreciate it. But I'm also really thankful for Ryan and Kenny. Like you all listening, you know, we kind of go back and forth and everything, but I feel like we've really become pretty good friends in the past year. And that counterfeiting episode, we really bonded over that. And I take 100% of all the criticism that came from that, because I did feel I came off very unprofessional because I mostly wanted to strangle the guy's neck, and it came off pretty obviously. And I didn't let Ryan and Kenny get a lot of their questions in. And you know what? They were just like, we're a team. And so I'm really thankful for those two knuckleheads.
You got it, Fred.
Yeah,
But
back at you.
there's an important question that Jason Nutter wants to know, and is that, are you thankful for vodka?
Breakingvodka.com, Fred. We wrote it for you.
I'm thankful there's something to hate out there.
Yeah, you know what? I really do think it's important to hate something in social media. Most people hate on a politician. I hate vodka. So
Fair enough. All right. I guess that leaves me, huh? Second that, Fred. I've been extremely grateful for this relationship. You know, you joining the team. I think it's been an incredible ride, and you've given us opportunities that I still can't even like wrap my head around. Like me being a host, or Kenny and I being a host of emceeing bourbon panels at a major rock festival, and you look out in the crowd and there's like 30,000 to 50,000 people. And I'm just like so grateful for the opportunities you've given us, and given us Metallica concerts. Like we're 5 rows from like, what's his name? The Napster killer dude. And all the, you know, we're by these like hardcore fans, and Kenny and I are in like our Patagonia jackets. We look so awkward. And like, it was such an awesome time though. And like, just, I'm so grateful for everything you've done for us. And I'm so grateful for Kenny and Lauren and everything they've done for this show. I mean, this was my idea, but I could never have envisioned it being what it is. It's insane. We have a great Patreon community that just continues to support us and continues to grow. And they come on barrel picks, whether they come off, you know, to liquor stores to meet us, they come in, and I don't take that for granted ever. It's surreal. And I'm like humbled by it. And I just so thankful that Kenny and Lauren and Fred have been involved to take this to where it has. And then the bourbon community, the Roundtable, I mean, the relationships we build, I mean, holy cow. I mean, like you guys hanging out with you all at the festivals, doing the picks, like it's just so much fun. And like the bond that we have together, it's just, words cannot describe how much great has happened in this podcast that I dreamed of when I was driving down in between jobs of spraying lawns, and now it's this. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone, and I'm just so thankful for it all, and I hope it never goes away.
Absolutely. I do love like having us as a group of guys and friends that, we can all get together and we're not like, so how's your day job? Like we don't ever ask that,
I know.
Wait, everyone has day jobs?
What's your real job?
So that's what you actually do to feed your family.
This is it.
Absolutely. So, again, thank you, everybody, for coming on the roundtable tonight and talking. I think we had a good list of questions. Sazerac, if you're out there, we're always willing to let somebody come on and kind of
They're like, eat shit, Kenny.
maybe they're like that, but we'd love to have the transparency out there. I think the community really wants to hear from you, and I think everybody would really just love to be able to kind of hear, as Fred said, the business side of it as well. And then also, again, thank you to everybody that joined us in chat. I think we had close to around 83 concurrent viewers. Was peak is where we were, so that's awesome. I didn't hit 100, but we got close. I'll be thankful next year when we have 100 every single time. But again, everybody, if you're driving out there, have a great, happy Thanksgiving, and we will see everybody next week. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. That works.
Sorry, I
That
went
was a
too
good
deep.
episode.
Yeah, you
It was
guys got me all.
All the high points.
It was a
me all
bro fest
teary-eyed
at the
a
end
little
there. Yeah.
I had to pull out my tissues for the last couple.
That was intense.
I got caught in the moment. Sorry.
That's great.
I'm in Kenny's basement.
Yeah.
This is awkward. He's upstairs.
Could
I'm
we get a
downstairs.
Kenny and Ryan like hug? Just
Yeah, I'll go downstairs here in a second.
Yeah, a few
Brother,
pours
brother.
later, you get a couple of ounces in you, and
Sorry, your
some
episode
tears in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
that happens.
Oh, for sure.
Man, Lamar Jackson is crushing the Rams. Oh my God.
Good.
Not
I hope
good.
he destroys everything that Jalen Ramsey tries to do tonight.
He
So
is so good.
My 9-year-old, I set up a fantasy football league for him and his friends, and he's just so into it. He knows more than I do about football. Probably shouldn't say that, but he knows everybody. He's got Jackson, and he's just ecstatic. I mean, he's got Mahomes and Jackson as his quarterbacks, and he's just killing it in his league. And I'm just not doing good at all this year. And I'm like, that's okay. We're kind of opposite this year. I'm doing terrible. He's doing great. Last year was the opposite, and I'm happy for him.
I'm doing so bad. I don't even look at the team anymore.
Good news is the Jaguars decided to draft Taven Bryan instead of Lamar Jackson. Good choice
Brilliant.
Smart. Yeah, brilliant.
on in that one.
Christopher Hart said, now it's over. Can we talk about the real elephant in the room? Waiting to see what he says here.
The G.I. Joe shirt, obviously.
Yes, Jeff.
else
We
could it be?
we keep the stream going just to give you the opportunity to watch what happens behind the scenes here. And as soon as somebody says something dumb, that's when I cut it.
Uh-oh.
Usually doesn't take
Give
too
it
long.
Another 30 seconds. Yeah. Speaking of, so this not dumb, but has anybody had Mayor Pingree?
No, never
Hold
heard
it up closer, Blake.
Pingree?
No, I haven't seen that
Never
So
heard of
it's
it.
a
yet.
distillery, Valentine Distilling Company out of Detroit. They've been distilling for like close to 10 years now, but have some really good products on the market. Yeah.
Huh.
They
Where's
They-
the chat on this thing? I haven't found it yet.
Oh, here, let me.
It's
Pop
in
it in.
the it's in our comment section.
it is at FSU Hate Week.
The only
although-
thing for chat I see gives us just our internal chat.
Well, I just
click
dropped
on
a link in there.
the
Oh, got it.
YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, I got to go through YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. We were at 91 concurrent. I messed up. That was our.
Oh,
that was,
Jason, are you saying that?
that's where we peaked.
You saying no? I don't. I'm pretty sure they distill everything.
Yeah, they're saying MGP.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
How old is it, and where's it from? Does it say distilled in Indiana on the
Got it.
back?
Yeah, that's your clue.
Yeah.
Are there the letters IN?
Aged at least 4 years in our Ferndale, Michigan production distillery.
Ferndale. Damn.
Yeah.
Christopher Hart said it's cut with fresh Detroit water.
I think I've been there.
Guy, what's his name?
Yeah.
Apparently they have some like private barrels that they've done in like the 6 to 8 year range. I'm reading the label. Christopher's calling me out here.
Read a label.
Okay,
Mike.
yeah. Distilled 4 years in our Ferndale, Michigan production distillery. That's as clear cut as it gets. So
Well, that's the thing.
Distilled 4 years.
No. You guys don't get it. They put their small facility, which was one of those little garages at Lowe's, and they drove it to Indiana, and they put it in there. So,
but if they say distilled, they have to.
Had to be distilled.
Distilled is a TTB regulated word, correct?
It's a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all act like people follow the rules.
Regulated by Webster.com.
Not produced.
don't you feel? I mean, think about it. If you're like a craft distiller, you work your ass off, like making something, and all anyone ever asks is like, did you distill it? Yeah, we produced it. No, did you distill it? Yeah, right there on the label. I mean, I did it on my own. And then you taste it like, oh, that sucks. I'd rather have MGP. You know.
Hey, should just bought some bulk barrels.
I mean, it's like I spent my life savings on this. You know, it's.
You got to wonder how much that comes up, though. I mean, the majority of people are not even going into that kind of depth at all.
Oh, if you're going to
like that,
if you're going to like whiskey and barrel night or whiskey fest or something like that, you're at a table and people are going in the rounds. Oh, you better believe they're asking.
Well, yeah, certain venues, obviously, but outside of that, though, the context, I gotta believe it's really only a small percentage of people that are even thinking to ask a question like that, relatively speaking.
Yeah, you know, there's that story that I don't remember where it was published, but it resurfaces every now and then that says that the rye you're drinking is really from a factory in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that
Like
every
Forbes factory.
yeah that
like Daily Beast or something
comes up all the time.
And when that does come up, I get family members sending it to me. You know, like, oh my God, like it's like breaking news. Oh my God, you know.
Have you heard this?
3 or 4 texts of that, you know, that link.
It's like when someone dies like from 10 years ago and someone finally finds out and they share it like, that's obits from 2008, buddy. You know?
Which it's still funny to me. The one I always get is Whistle Pig whenever they're like, oh, you got to try this new Vermont distillery. I'm like, yeah, you know, they source a lot of Canadian. They're like, no, they're up in Vermont. I'm like, I know that
Canadian
Vermont
border.
is
No, I know the story. Yeah.
in the US, but they source, you know, a lot from Canada. They're like, hold on, they're not making all of their stuff. I'm like,
What?
no. You've tried farm stock, right? Like you've been down that road, haven't you?
Oh,
You're like, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And to me, the worst are those who are getting like liquid from other distilleries, and then they're proofing it down with their water, and they try to make a big deal about their proofing water. You know, it's like, man, you're really stretching there.
Snow melt from the Rockies, it doesn't make my whiskey better.
Oh yeah, we were in the well, whatever the court document is there that popped up online. They wouldn't talk to us for a little while after that.
Which one was that?
That was for Breckenridge.
Oh,
So they cited a couple. They cited Chuck Cowdery and they cited us. And honestly, all we have up is just a response from one of the employees about the product. But that was copied over verbatim into the court documents. And
but then I saw where it was like straight from Nick Bader, screw Breckenridge, their stuff's out.
that was on a personal account play. Come on. Actually, I have some higher proof stuff from them. It's pretty good.
I mean, I actually like their bourbon, and I say that you know, like knowing it is MGP, but their stuff's actually really good. So
it's a crowd pleaser. It's something you put in front of somebody and they're probably gonna like it. You know, especially if they're not looking for something really high proof or something like that.
The weatherman, Jim Cantori, one night was like texting me, hey, have you had Breckenridge? Hey, have you had Breckenridge? I'm at Breckenridge right now. Have you had this? Have you had it? And I was like, and he showed me the bottle, and it was one of the bottles I scored. I think I scored like a 65 or something. And I said, yeah, it's not very good, Jim. And he's like, you got to taste it again.
Obviously.
I think I think there's, and this is just a little theory I have, but I think that when you're in these extreme climates, like or elevation, like how you taste it at the distillery, it can be like magical. But then you bring it home to like your normal circumstances and everything, and you're like, oh yeah, that's really bad.
Saying barometric pressure can affect the taste of whiskey.
Well, I think that's I mean, how many barrel picks have you done where you're like tasting at the distillery, drinking from?
Oh, that's
like
for
this
sure.
is the greatest
all the
barrel
time.
pick I've ever done, and then
The
you get there,
environment.
you're like,
Yep.
pretty good.
I actually have a Forbes article coming out this week about, that touches on some of that, but
I'll let you quote me in it. Fair enough.
I tell you though, Fred
twist my arm.
Fred did a thing that I was at about music affecting it, and that's real too.
Really?
Yeah,
basically,
I believe that, Brian.
a lot of things can affect it.
Yep.
And Metallica is going around. They have a team going around, having people listen to different music, and they're tasting the same whiskey. They're basically tasting blackened, and they all pick up different notes with every one of the glasses, and it's the same liquid, but the music they're listening to impacts what they're tasting. It's fascinating.
Kenny,
That's
I wonder how the EDM affects our tasting.
Reed Mittenbuehler had a quote. Somebody posted in, I think it was Bourboner today, about how you're usually tasting the whiskey, but you're also tasting the marketing, you're tasting the people around it, you're all these other
Oh yeah,
Take that in the right context.
perception, reality, placebo, and everything.
Don't do that tasting.
Hopefully Bob showered before he tasted it.
Body shots.
Yeah.
These kids are doing. Hold on. Christopher Hart had a good comment. Where'd it go? About discussion on booze in the house with your kids would be a phenomenal roundtable. I have young kids, so I'd like all advice I can get on what I'm getting myself into. Although we all kind of have young kids.
Yeah,
I think
mine
I've
is
got the old
Brian's
ones.
got the oldest. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got the old ones.
So
It's
Brian, you're the only one with one in college, right?
it's bad. I mean, when you got to start putting locks on your cabinets, and you all have the stuff sitting out. I mean, my oldest started having friends coming over, and it's like, we got to put it away. I mean, I trust her, but about the friends.
See, that's the problem, is that like you're like we got to put it away, and then you're like, oh shit, I don't have any more closet space left. Like we're literally out of space.
I went and put a different. I mean, I'm not handy, and I put a locked handle on a closet in my basement to fill up with bourbon.
I designed everything around that. I've got doors behind me,
Oh, nice.
and then I got a full lock. So it's in. I'm not sure if it's based on that I don't want them drinking the good stuff or I don't want them drinking. It's maybe about 50-50. So
you want them drink if they're going to drink the good stuff.
I just say this.
Not
I
sure
know what
about
I
that.
was doing as I was growing up. So I just kind of base everything off of that, and that's what I'm going to try to prevent.
The little marks on the side of the label to know how much water to put into it.
We never did that. We never did water.
No.
No, they weren't paying that close attention.
I do.
Watch out with the eyes there too.
I do. Yeah.
He's watching.
See,
John
now
Brown said he put a security camera on his. That's probably the best idea, is just get a bunch of rings around your
Yep.
bar.
Yeah, but
Yep.
after they drink it, it's too late. You're like, I caught you, but it's gone.
Although the funniest thing my son did was one time he wanted to make me a drink, and he mixed it was like, I think it was a 1985 Weller with Barter House. It was like I need to go find the Instagram picture. It was like a 4-ounce pour of. I'm like, oh, thanks, buddy. It's very thoughtful of you. Just
Like-
He mixed two bourbons together for you.
yeah, makes 2 bourbons in one glass.
Isn't that the Bourboner way though? Doing the blending. He's doing the at-home blending.
He's learned young.
I
apparently.
learned it from watching you, Dad.
It's a micro blend, and then he put it in the Ninja to aerate it, right?
Well, that's why I got onto him. I was like, you didn't put this in the Ninja? Like, what's wrong with you?
That's where
Start
the
back
buck
at step 1, please.
All right,
man.
I'm going to bed. I got basketball early in the morning.
Nice.
Fellas, always
Sounds good.
Always fun.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna kill the
time.
stream. So
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
You guys too.
absolutely.
Bye,
Cheers,
guys.
fellas.
Enjoy.
Be safe.
Good night. Thanks
right.
everybody for tuning in.
Woo!
All right. If I can find the leave
The
the
X.
I got it for you.